plenty of agents we work with that fit in that exact category.
There you go.
So yeah, it really irritated me at that moment, but looking back on it, it's still today is something that drives me. It's still today something that I go and look back at that mentor's numbers and look at my numbers, and I make sure I'm beating them every single year, right?
My name is Kevin McIntosh, and this is the Closing Table, where we talk to experts about their experience in real estate all across the country. Let's go. Welcome back to the Closing Table. My name is Kevin McIntosh. Joining us on this very special episode, I have the pleasure of speaking with Ms. Coti Brown. How you doing, Coti?
I'm doing great, Kevin. How are you?
Absolutely fantastic. Thank you for coming here on the Closing Table and dropping some of your real estate knowledge on us today. Before we get into our conversation, I got a quick game for you real quick. It's called word association. I just got like 5 terms I'm going to throw out there related to real estate. And you just give me your initial reaction, whatever that be, a word, a sentence, whatever the case may be. You ready?
Yep.
All right. First word, real estate appraisal software.
Interesting.
Listing.
Fun.
Okay. Tenant.
Future client.
Okay. Real estate developer.
Business partner.
Last one, closing.
Great day.
Nice. Let's talk about it. Cool. All right. Those are quick hitters right there. That gives us a little bit into your mindset, how you think, how you feel about certain things. So let's get into the meat and potatoes. First and foremost, Coti, let's describe to our audience watching and listening right now your current market that you serve. And let's just paint a picture geographically first and foremost, and then go into like any other details regarding your market.
Yeah, so we cover pretty much mid-Michigan, which is like a Genesee County, North Oakland County, Livingston. We cover that area primarily. It is like everywhere, short on supply significantly. Mm-hmm. Our average price point right now is about $225 is what they say. At the same time, trying to find a house for $225 is pretty hard, which is significantly up though. When about 4 years ago, our average price point was $180. Yeah. So very affordable cost of living. At the same time, just like anywhere else, we're lucky to have at any given time about 3 weeks of supply. And we have buyers that are shell shocked from the last, 6 to 9 months of where interest rates have gone, the competition. Some of them have been in the market for a number of years. And so the competition, they're just sick of it. So our current market is interesting. It's somewhere you kind of have to match make almost. We're doing a lot more finding homes before they even hit markets, or not listing homes until they find something. So it's got a lot of diversity to the complexity of it right now.
Right. Yeah, and we're in the mid-Michigan region right now too, so I completely understand. Yeah, I remember, I keep my eye on the market. I remember seeing like the average homes going for 180, 190, and just see it go to 2. I'm like, oh man, like that's when, like, if you're paying attention to the market, you're like, yo, I should have started a long time ago. I should have got into this a long time ago. But hindsight is always 2020. So continuing on into your career. Say when you started, your mentor told you that you cannot close 50 or more transactions in your first year. Your mentor told you that. How did that make you feel initially when you heard that, first off?
Well, initially I was just irritated. I was mad. But I'm a firm believer that God uses people to light a fire under you in the right way. And so I really felt like, that mentor at the time is probably just a tool for exactly what I needed in that moment. Yeah. I didn't know. I was new to real estate, and I was new to being back in the area. We moved here to be close to family. And so I didn't know 50 deals was a big deal. What I had done is I had really reverse engineered the system. And at the time, like I said, the average price point was around like 180 in our area. And my goal was, I want to do this full time. I want my husband to be able to do this full time with us. So what it meant was I need to replace my income, his income, pay for insurance, pay for taxes, pay for vacations. Right. What does that look like? And
Right,
so
right.
when I figured that out, it was 50 deals at what at the time what my broker split was, what any fees and anything I had there, and what I was going to have to pay in taxes. So to me, I was just presenting an idea of, okay, this is exactly how I get what I want. I didn't know that that
Mm-hmm.
was not normal. I didn't know that the average agent does 6 to 8 deals a year. I had no idea.
I didn't know that
So,
either. Wow.
um, so yeah, and quite frankly, it was exactly what I needed in that moment. But I'll tell you, for anybody that's starting off, I think so many agents don't live up to their potential because they go and they talk to somebody else about what is the average or what is the norm.
That's a good
And
point.
it's it's not, we're not doing agents that get into this business justice. Or even, people say somebody doing it part-time, we say, oh well, you can't be part-time and make six figures, or you can't be part-time and be successful. We have plenty of agents we work with that fit in that exact category.
There you go.
um, so yeah, it really irritated me at that moment, but looking back on it, it's still today is something that drives me. It's still today something that I go and look back at that mentor's numbers and look at my numbers, and I make sure I'm
Yeah.
beating them every single year, right?
There it is. See, and that was my follow-up question. I was gonna say, how did you use that to fuel and motivate you? But you already went straight into it. I mean, the average person, if someone tells you something like that, it's either gonna break you or it's gonna make you. Ultimately,
Mhm.
most people will be like, oh yeah, if my mentor is telling me I can't close 50 homes and they're saying the average is 6 to 8 homes for first year real estate agent, I'm probably not going to do it. You did, like you said, reverse engineering. You started from, okay, what do I need? What do I want to achieve? And then you broke it down into smaller parts as to how you can achieve this on a daily or frequent basis. So that I feel like that's obviously the mindset of an entrepreneur, a business person. You set your goals first, and then you break down into many tasks as to how you can reach those goals. So I have to
Mhm.
applaud you for that first and
Yeah.
foremost.
Well,
Resilience,
thank you.
great story, first and foremost. Okay, so impact agents. You got it
Mhm.
on your shirt. That's your brand. That's your brokerage. So what makes your brokerage stand out from other markets?
So what we do differently is we take a portion of our commission or a portion of our time after every closing, and we let our clients choose where we're going to pour back into the community. Now,
Mm-hmm.
the backstory on this though is I started I started Berkshire. I started on a team, and
Okay.
I've done this from day one. We broke out, we started a brokerage with a broker partner, and excuse me, and they still to this day do the exact same concept that we do. The reason that I'm telling you this is because there's gonna be agents here that listen and go, oh well, I would like to do that, but oh my gosh, Coti and her team or somebody I know already does that. Who cares? They're not you, right? So
Uh,
the reason I always like to tell that story is because I'm like, I have an entire brokerage here, a boutique brokerage that I helped start. That was my baby that I birthed, and then I rolled off and rebranded with the same concept, right? The same giving back platform as impact agents. What our mission is, the entire mission is to just always leave people in our community better than we found them. What
there
impact
you go.
can we make?
Yeah.
And that looks different every time. Sometimes it looks like, showing up to help move our clients occasionally, helping them on that day. Sometimes it's showing up to donate to their favorite charity at a cause, or sometimes it's, just pouring back at serving at your local church or school. It looks like a lot of
Right.
different things. But the reason I always tell that backstory is because agents need to figure out what makes them different. They need to be able to say that in order to stay in somebody's mind. Kevin, I'm sure you're unique. You know a lot of agents, obviously, but every single person out there knows a ton of agents. They just
Yeah.
do,
Yeah.
And if I would have got into this business and said, "Oh gosh, but everybody already knows an agent," I would have failed, right? And you
It's a
have to
fact.
go in with the mindset that guess what? Everybody does know an agent, but what are you going to do that's different? That's
Mm-hmm.
going to help that relationship and help them think of you. I always tell agents to get really used to saying, I'm in real estate. What makes me different is, and then tell them, even if what makes you different is something that you think every agent's doing, the
Mm-hmm.
reality is not everybody's doing it. Even if you say, we have a gal on our team that she says, I get you to the closing table faster, smoother, without hiccups than any other agent. Now, there's probably other agents that could say that same thing,
Exactly.
but they're not
Exactly.
sharing it. They're not telling everybody that all the time and on their social platforms saying it, at
Right.
events saying it, so that when they think of a listing their house or buying a house, they think, oh gosh, I want to do that, but that's so hard and there's so many hiccups, and they say, oh well, you know what, I remember that agent that told me they'd get me there faster, smoother, without hiccups. I'm going
Mm,
to call them, even though I know
mm-hmm.
5 agents, right? So well, I say what we do is not, I don't want to belittle it, but it's not unique to us. It was unique in the fact that I started verbalizing it in this community and making sure everybody knew that that was our mission. I think that's the shortfall of a lot of agents is we don't tell them, we just say, well, I'm in real estate. Think of me when you want to buy and sell a house. Well, why
Right,
you?
right. Mm. I like the way you broke that down, Coti, because I mean, once again, that's just going into a business mindset. Not even just that, just a branding mindset, right? Because
Mhm.
there's markets, and we're talking about in any industry, right? Like you can do anything. You can start a business cutting hair or doing hair or whatever the case may be. But there's plenty of other salons. There's plenty of
Yeah,
other barbers and stylists. What makes you different? And it could be something small. It could be something big. But you
mhm,
have to stand on whatever that is. You see
yeah.
what I'm saying? Make that part of your brand. That's what I got from the conversation. What you just said,
Yeah.
ultimately, and,
I
and
actually
it makes
copied and
sense.
pasted this idea. My husband and I have always been very big on giving back. But when we lived in Georgia, there was a cleaning company that part of their mission was donating back part of what they received each month to local causes. And I was like, I love that idea. We're
Mm-hmm.
already serving at our church, we're already giving back to the community. And we came back here. I'm like, I want to do what that cleaning company did, and I want to do it in real estate. And I was joked and said, I want to become the Chick-fil-A of real estate. I want to make sure
The
everybody is like,
Chick-fil-A of real estate. You can't go wrong with that. I want to be the Chick-fil-A of podcasting.
right?
That's standard, yo. It's right there.
Exactly.
I like that. That's so real. All right, so with your brokers, what type of agents do you look to recruit?
So, I mean, number one is agents that, again, are not in this business. You have two types of folks. You'll have folks that are, and neither one is wrong. Folks that are chasing the money, and so they do the business, right? You have people that do the business, and the money follows. And the business,
Mm-hmm.
realistically, at its core, is relationships. The business at its core is serving people, and those are our kind of agents that say, because hands down, and I'm human, so I'm flawed. Where I said there's times in my life where I have fell short and I go, oh, I'm definitely chasing the money here. And the money's
Mm.
harder to come by. But when you're chasing serving people and taking care of people and making sure you get them what they need first, the money always follows. That's the kind of agent that we like to work with.
There you go. There you go. People first.
Mm-hmm.
People first. But I like your honesty too in saying that sometimes you do get caught up and realize you are chasing the money.
Yeah,
That's a very
absolutely.
honest response right there.
Yeah.
It happens. You know, we all human.
It's usually when you're in a like we're even in like times we've been in a scarcity mindset, and abundance
Uh-huh.
doesn't come from that. Our abundance has always come from when we're out serving people and taking care of people.
That's facts. Factory, I like to say. All right, so if I'm not mistaken, you work with your husband. You
I
mentioned that
do.
earlier, right?
Yep.
Okay, okay, okay. Oh, so I know it has to be some good, and it gotta be some. So let's talk about what are the pros and cons of working with your significant
Yeah.
other.
So, I'll brutally honest, because we have so many husband wife
Mm-hmm.
teams come to us and ask us questions, and complete fall apart meltdowns. I said the first 6 months to maybe a year were incredibly difficult. They just were, and the
Mm,
main reason actually is not what you think. It was we would get frustrated at each other because we both house that same mentality of trying to serve each other. I remember hearing a long time ago. I went to a panel of dads. It was at like a mom's get together, and there was a panel of dads, like a dad that was young and middle aged and older, and the older gentleman that had been married had adult children and grandchildren. Said, if you want a
mm-hmm.
happy marriage, fight hard to outserve your spouse. Like get up in the morning, try to be the first one to make the bed. Get up in the morning, try to be the one to unload the dishes, because that breeds a service mentality just in your marriage, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we would do that in our business though and irritate each other because we would either both do the same thing, or we'd say, oh gosh, that wasn't what I needed you to focus on. I need you to focus on this. And so some things would get done kind of twice and other things would fall through the cracks.
Right, right.
And
I feel
for
that.
us, that led to probably more frustration and more, harsh conversation than we probably ever had in our marriage. But what we did at about a year is we said, this has got to change. Like we're both trying to do good here. Let's sit down. And we did a red light, green light challenge. And we said, we're going to write down every single thing. And I encourage you to do this even for your business, quite frankly, when
Okay.
you're looking to level up, and whether it's your spouse or you're looking to add another member, a showing agent, a TC, anything, you got to do a red light, green light challenge. Write down every single thing you do every day. And in theory, for a week would be ideal, And then you sit down that next week and you go back through, and I'm talking everything. Like I brushed my teeth.
For sure.
Got the kids, like everything in business and life. And so we sat down at 1 week and we said, okay, what are the things that are your tasks? What are the things that are my tasks? And then are there anything, which we were already at a place where, I mean, we were doing 78 deals a year. There were things we needed off of both of our plates, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we did, okay, this is a red light for me. This is a green light for Ty. This is a great, we average it out. Now, it's not to say that I don't still do some of those things and that he doesn't. He'll show a house maybe once or twice every 6 months, not very often, but
Right.
he's the operations side, the system side, and the agent kind of liaison. And I'm the sales, the marketing, the client focused side of things.
There you
Um,
go.
Gosh, if we depended on like his social media and stuff, we'd fall apart. So I handle all of that stuff. But it's really important. One of the biggest complaints in real estate and in jobs as a whole is people not knowing what their roles are. You have to define what your
Mm.
roles are.
Yeah.
And I think,
Yep.
especially for us, like I knew how to work on my own. I think I've probably been an entrepreneur all of my life, but
Yeah.
he's never done that. He worked for suppliers for General Motors, and he's always gone into an office and people told him what to do. But as his wife, I didn't want to sit there and tell him what to do. So we had to define a role and say, okay, this is
Mm.
your role, this is my role. And then since then, everything's been fantastic.
Look at that. Look at that. See, the root of
Mhm.
that solution and what you said is communication.
Yeah.
You can always break it down to communication. Oh man, I hope my
So
girlfriend
true.
listening. But anyway, but yeah, so I love the way you explain that because you like you said, entrepreneur mindsets, you've everything that you've been saying already explains and shows that you have that mindset, but having to, I don't want to say drag your significant other, but kind of, encourage you and your significant other talk to each other, encourage each other. And like you
Mhm.
said, write down everything you're doing. Is it serving my purpose? Is this something you could do? Is this something I could do? And most importantly, know your role. Stay in your
Mhm.
lane. Sometimes when you tell people that, they get offended. What do
Yeah.
you mean stay in my lane? What do you mean play my role? No,
Mhm.
everyone has a role. You have to play yours.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as simple as that. We can't do the same thing. It's just not going to work. So,
Yeah.
great
And
response
you
right
won't
there.
enjoy it. That's the
Hmm.
other thing. There are some things we've done this exercise multiple times, and there's some things when we audit our process, we say, okay, that's a you role, or this is me, but do I still enjoy doing this? Because
Right,
you will
right.
get to a place where you say, okay, it almost becomes a grid. In the beginning, it's survival. It's I have to do this, you have to do that. Then it becomes great where you go, okay, I want to do this. You want to do that.
Hmm.
What does that look like?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a fact. That's a fact. Okay, so you posted something on social media, Realtor 101. Know how you get paid.
Mm.
You put a lot of numbers up there, a lot of calculations. Math used to be my favorite subject. When I saw those numbers, you lost me. So I'm gonna see if you could take this time to kind of break down the science in that formula that you posted in regards to how you got to your transaction business and how you get paid as a
Mhm.
realtor.
Yeah, well, I think most real well, and it's true. NAR, which is the National Association of Realtors, shows that over 85% of realtors that get in the business, they go with a broker or a team with somebody they know. And I always
Hmm.
say it's a lot easier to turn a smart business decision into good friends than good friends into a smart business decision. So
Okay.
you
Okay.
have to know your numbers. As much as I don't like getting into numbers either, you have to know how you get paid because so many times you put all this work into it and then they go, wait a minute, why am I getting this amount? As a sheer example, when I started at Berkshire in the beginning, I was on a team, which is a great place to start. But I knew that I had to make a little over 350,000 just to bring 250 home, right? So I knew
Mm.
that that much was going to go to my broker split, to my team split, to my franchise fees. Many people don't realize that there's all these fees associated with it. And they get in and they get excited. They're like, I just want to show houses. I just want to be like HGTV. And it's like, you really do need to know and understand how you get paid. There's a lot of different platforms out there anymore. Typically, there's a broker split where just on average, we'll say the broker keeps anywhere from 20 to 40% of every single paycheck. Well, then there is an amount that you're paying for a franchise. When you're at a Remax, a
Hmm.
Berkshire, any of those, you're paying for their branding. They're bringing you
Right.
in and saying, we're
Their
your branding.
resources.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm going to say from day one, and I still feel like a little bit of an outsider on this in real estate, I don't need your branding because nobody's ever done business with me because I worked at Berkshire. Nobody's ever done business with me because I opened a
Good
brokerage, right?
point. Good point. Yeah.
Nobody, honestly, still to this day, has ever done business with me because I'm at EXP. They've done business with me because I'm Coti Brown and because there's an
Mm,
experience and there's a feeling,
talk
there's a
about it.
relationship there.
There you
So
go.
there's a lot of plans out there, and I think that because so many agents join where there's a friend, they trust them and they say, oh my gosh, you wouldn't do me wrong, right? We had an agent that came on board that was working for his brother in law. He paid over $100,000 more in fees than he pays with us today.
Oh wow. With his brother-in-law? His
His
oh
brother in law.
man.
Yep. And so you wouldn't think that
Oh.
your family would do that to you, right?
Yep. Money.
Um,
Money. Yeah.
exactly. And I joked and said, for 100 grand, I'll be your brother-in-law, right? Like, so, um, there's a lot of plans out there, and I think that people need to do their homework, and they need to realize that just because something says, oh, it's 100% commission, if they're paying a transaction fee, and they're like me, where they do a number of transactions, they're still paying more money.
I'm so- Yo, you have me at you have me at top. You pay me $100,000 to be your brother-in-law. That is funny.
Right?
That makes sense though. That's
Right?
man, when money is involved, like relationships can get money, even with
Mhm.
family. Oh, talk about it. Talk about it. Oh man, you just
Mhm.
spoke to my soul. We're gonna move forward. So you said you grow your business with a simple online, offline impact model that you
Mhm.
created, and now you teach agents all across the nation. Obviously, it's working. You're a very successful, top producing agent. Without giving up too much game for free, drop a couple gems, and can you give us some of the key takeaways from your business model that other agents can learn from?
I literally would give it all for free. The problem is 99% of people won't do the work, right? I would give it all to
Facts.
everybody for free.
Facts.
I have an online course that we put together. We do sell that for a ridiculously low price, quite frankly, just because I couldn't man the time to continue to do one-on-one Zooms with you. I gave my time away for free for the last 5 years to anybody that wanted to do it. But the problem is the work behind it. So the very simple thing, though, at like a 3,000 foot view level, is people think that no matter where they're at in their business, that they need more buyers and sellers. And that's actually the opposite of the mentality of what I had. I didn't focus on buyers and sellers at all. I focused on people. And I said, I need more people sharing my name. And I still focus on that today, even though we have a
Mm-hmm.
database of, thousands of people. I go, I need more people. I'm going to service the buyers and sellers when they come to us, but I need people. So I focused all of my time in the community, finding out how could I help and getting to know people. I probably in the very beginning had like anywhere from 12 to 15 coffees one on one with people, and I had no money. So we didn't go to fancy coffee. We went to like diner coffee with like
Mm-hmm.
99-cent coffee. But I just got sat down and got to know people. The simplest thing, and I've shared this a million times on Instagram, if you're trying to get started or you're trying to kind of reboot your business, just posting someplace on one of the social platforms. And if you don't have a following, post in groups that are already established for a demographic. Like, okay, I want to find people in Fenton. Go to a Fenton Facebook group. You want to find people in Davison. Go to a Davison Facebook group and ask on there, hey, I'm new to the community. Who should I know? Who are the movers and shakers in this community? Who are people of influence? And I always took what my niche was and said, this is the kind of person I'm looking for. So I said, who runs local charities? Who is a person that gives back to the when you think of giving back, who do
Mm-hmm.
you think of, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
invited all of those people to coffees. I wanted to get to know them. And then I spent literally probably 1 to 2 minutes telling what I was doing. Like, here's what I'm building. I'm building a
Right.
real estate group, and I want a bunch of people that want to pour back in just like you, and that's going
Right.
to evolve, and I want to stay in touch with you. And so that's what I did. Now that was my offline, right? Online, after I found them and went offline to the coffee, I went back online and I followed them and I liked their stuff and I commented on their stuff and I looked for ways to be the conduit between other people in the community. So if I
Mm-hmm.
would see other posts, I would tag them in it. If I would see their stuff that they were sharing, like an event, I would share that. I would show up. You have to have this perfect mix. I think what's interesting is that there's a lot of people that have been in the business a long time and they say, "Oh my gosh, you just got to be out in the pub," and they have no social following, right? They go,
Right.
"You just got to
Right.
door knock, you got to be face to face, belly belly, nose to nose." I totally agree with that. The other side of agents that have come on board recently say, I built everything on social media. I never had to leave my house. I never had to see a person in my life. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, that's not sustainable because this is a
Correct.
people business. It is a contact sport. You need a mesh of both of them.
That's a good
And
point.
there's definitely strategies to it. The strategies for me, I think, was kind of like what my God-given gift was. I've always been a connector, so it comes so naturally to me. But it's mind-blowing to me that people don't think, oh gosh, I just ran into Susie at Sam's. I'm going to go back onto Susie's page and say, hey, it was so nice to run into you, blah 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 blah, and then make sure that I'm touching base with her and staying in front of her. Right?
Right.
That's the piece that most of us disconnect on, and then we wonder why they use another agent. Well, you weren't in front of them. Why
Mm-hmm.
were they going to think of you?
Yep. Top of mind awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Top of mind awareness is one thing that I know about. See, and you're I like that you put a lot of value on things that may not necessarily get you an immediate monetary return or something, right? Which is basically building relationships. And you're doing it in as many different ways and channels as you can. Online, you're going to their pages, you're finding them, you're going to different community groups, like you said, you're finding out who's really the movers and shakers and the pushers in this community. Then you find them offline, you're meeting with them, and then going back online, things of that nature. That takes, believe it or not, in today's day and age, you got to put your pride and your ego aside, because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people, especially on social media, just feel like, I have this amount of followers. I have to be this. I'm this type of person. I'm not about to just reach out to people and just do this and that or share people's posts. You
Yeah.
barely get people to like a post nowadays. So
Right.
but it's crazy as it sounds. You really have to put your ego aside, just to like a post or share a post or something like that. And you're going way beyond that and teaching people that, and it's adding value. Makes so
Well,
much
and
sense.
agents,
But
the ego is fine. We all got to have a healthy ego to be in this, but the arrogance has got to go, right? That
there you
arrogant
go.
piece.
There you
And I
go.
will say, agents, and I thought this in the very beginning, to just be fully transparent. I went into an office where to learn, you'd go knock on people's doors and they'd go, no, these are all my secrets. I'm keeping all of these to myself. And I was like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
understand. How are you supposed to learn? And so I have since, in the last, 4.5 years, realized that collaboration is so much stronger than competition. The
Mm,
fact that I have a healthy, good relationship with every agent local that's willing to have it with me,
mm,
there's some that are not, that's fine, but that it's willing to say, oh yeah, you're not my competition, there's enough business to go around. It makes your life so much better, and realistically it makes you a better agent for your people, because now if I'm against 10 other offers, and that agent can go to their seller or their buyer and say, listen, this is Coti Brown and her team, they're phenomenal people to work with. They will not string us around, they will not play games. I will tell you, since these offers are virtually the same, we want to work with her. And that
mm-hmm.
happens all the time. I used to say this all the time. People think, oh, who you work with doesn't matter. Let's just get whoever is the discounted one. That's not true, because that 1% you might get off of a agent's comp is going to cost you 5% in the long run, because nobody wants to work with that agent.
Right, right. Yep, yep.
I
Oh
always said if it
man.
was legal, Kevin, I was going to start a Cody's list where I'd tell the real story of some of the agents that were not kind in the real estate industry.
Ooh, talk about they're out there. I mean,
like
it's
like
just a
an
few
Angie's
bad
list.
apples. Yeah, like Angie's list. You mentioned transaction numbers are down for the year at one point in your career, but volume is almost double. Explain this to
Yeah.
someone who's not too familiar with these terms in relations to real estate, right? Explain the difference between transactions, units, and
Mhm.
volume. And then can you explain how you double your volume transactions? I mean, if
Absolutely.
transactions are down, or get into
Yeah.
that, please.
So I think a good amount of folks volume and transactions were probably down last year. In the year prior, we were close to 80 transactions personally, and then our community, had hundreds. But we when we moved into last year, the blip that happened when we had almost this pause caused it to go, oh my gosh, nobody's buying or selling, right? Well,
Mm-hmm.
what we did is we were very tactical about it. We made sure that we were looking at where are higher priced homes, higher price, and we deal with residential and commercial, but looking at both of those and going, okay, people that have these types of homes and businesses know other people that have types of homes and businesses, right? And even if you don't have that past clientele, one of the easiest things you can do as an agent is look up what's the price point you want to sell? Where did a house most recently sell for that price? Right. And go in and I would go in and talk to all of the neighbors again, nose to nose, belly to belly, and say,
Right.
hey, your neighbor here, Kevin, they just sold their house. We did this at a house that recently had sold in Goodrich area. It was 710 for the price of the house. And we went and talked to all of the neighbors, right? So then we're picking up listings from there. So our volume wasn't down in half like some people's were, but we were down about 15 transactions from the prior year, except our
Mm.
average volume price went from an average of about, I think we were at 285 up to 378. So we were
Oh,
ahead even though we were behind on numbers.
got you, got
So a
you. So,
transaction is a unit, right? And then your
right,
volume is your volume of your price. But
got you.
if it were me
Okay.
in this market right now, I would try to get in every single open house possible. A lot of people dog on open houses, but it's the number one thing with such a shortage of supply. Getting out and doing open houses right now would be critical. Find the price point you want to do an open house in. See if you can do an open house for somebody. There are people. This happens all the time. Somebody sees a sign in their area and they're like, "That agent isn't even from here. They're from over an hour away. What are they doing with their sign here?" Call them up. Say, "Hey, I see you have a listing here. It looks awesome. Would you like some help keeping that open so that people can walk through it? I'll be happy to do a couple open houses for you." So now you're
Hmm.
in the demographic of the volume you want to sell, and you didn't even have to have the listing originally.
Oh, wow. Wow. What a way to get around some things. That's a
Yeah.
smart thing, though. That's smart. Okay. Okay. Giving some real game. Free game from Coti, ladies and gentlemen. Free game. All right. This is this is this is something I believe you said. I love this quote when I heard you say this.
Mm,
Ignorance on fire will outperform knowledge on ice.
yeah.
When I heard this, it took me a minute. I had to let it marinate. Like, what? But then I listened to it and I let it marinate and I took the context you said. I said, this is very profound. Can you share an example of a time when you seen or saw someone's passion and enthusiasm overcome their lack of knowledge or experience? Because that's essentially what I believe that quote
Mhm.
means.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I live this, and we have agents that we continue to pour into them and tell them because we are in an age that is flooded with information and we are starving for wisdom, like 100%. So
Mm-hmm.
people think they have to know everything, but
Right.
then they're not really wise enough to actually implement it. And then in this business, there's so many times that people get licensed and then they think, okay, now I'm going to go in the office and I'm going to study a whole bunch and then I'll be ready for people. Nope, you're ready for people now. You learn in real life. I was living, breathing ignorance on fire. I couldn't have told you. People ask, okay, what's the millage? How many, acres? How much land is that? I didn't know all of that stuff. So let me
Mm.
find out for you. You have to be good at finding out and following up. Those are the two things you have to be good at.
Finding out and
I give
following
this
up.
example a lot where I have, we've had two agents in the past where one you could go to for anything. Like literally, he knew every single thing about how systems worked, knew everything about the data of the market. He was a wealth of information, hadn't sold a single house in the business for over 2 years, hadn't sold a single house, right? Have another agent literally can't tell you how to write a contract, cannot tell you what's going on in the market, can't tell you the average price point, none of that stuff. And in 6 months was at a six-figure income, right?
Mm.
You don't have to know it all. You have to be good at listening, finding out, and following up. That's it. And there's this big misconception that you have to go in and you have to sit in these classes. And honestly, some of these brokerages, that's the model they're based off of. They're going, okay, we're going to bring these people in and we're going to sit them in a 4 to 6 week class, and people love that idea. They love that idea because they've never been an entrepreneur and they've never had to go work on their own. And so they go, okay, great. I'm used to going from 9 to 5. I'm going to go sit in this class. They're going to tell me everything I need to know. And the day I graduate, I'm going to go out and, make 500,000 selling real estate. That's not how it works. You got to get out there and get
Mm.
dirty, right? You need
That's a
to
fact.
be in the trenches. So, I'm just a huge advocate. Our group works very differently when it comes to code. We don't have a standard sit in an office training. We have a 90-day checklist. You have to do it. You get done with that in 5 days, that's cool. You get done with it in 120 days, that's on you. But most of the learning and coaching happens in the field. So our community of agents, which our team, like we call them community, they share, okay, I have this showing coming up, I have this listing coming up, this inspection, and newer agents go and shadow them in live time in the field doing it, because that's what you're going to be doing.
There you
uh,
go.
I always say one of the worst things that agents do when they come on board is they sit in an office with other agents. It's a terrible idea, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
never sat in the office with other agents unless I absolutely had to be there. You know where I sat? I sat at other local businesses, and I got to know other local businesses, that how did the other business run, or businesses that were aligned with homeowners. Like I said at our local paint store a number of times. I said at our local home decor store, and I brought my laptop and I worked while I was there. But I
Mm-hmm.
listened to how did these business owners run their business, number one. And when people were coming in, what were they talking about? Because a lot of people that come into the paint store, guess what? They're talking about upgrading their home. They're talking about selling their home. A decor
Mm.
place, same thing, Oh, well, we're getting ready to buy a new home, or someday we're going to sell. So it gave me not only access to the community, but it gave me real life learning about how to run a business. And I wasn't learning that in an office filled with a bunch of other realtors. And
That's
trust
a
me, none of your
fact.
clients are walking into that office. The days of people walking into a brokerage and saying, I need to buy or sell a
I
home,
know.
gone.
That's so funny. That's a great point. I can't even imagine somebody. Yeah, I got to walk down to the real estate office and tell them I want to buy a home. No,
Right,
that's not happening. That's
right.
right. You gotta be in the field, man. I don't care what industry you're doing. You got to get out there and practice. Just get
Mhm.
out there and practice. I mean, you can be in college soaking up all the book knowledge you want, but until you're actually out there with experience, as soon as you graduate from college, that's the first thing they're saying. They want you to have experience in a lot of places anyway. So it's like a catch-22. How am I going to get experience if you don't give it to me? Well,
Right.
you might have to find other ways around that, and find, do some unconventional things people aren't thinking of to gain that experience. So I
Absolutely.
love that quote. When I heard you say that, I was like, man, it took me a minute, and I was like, wow, that means a lot, and it spoke to me. So
Yeah.
thank you, Coti. We appreciate you for coming here on the closing table and dropping some knowledge. If you have any last words and or want to tell the people how they can reach out to you, please do so now.
Well, you can reach out to me on Facebook or Instagram. I handle all of it myself. And
Mm-hmm.
then, my last words for anybody in this industry is don't let anybody else tell you what you're capable of. And anybody that's looking to start, I know I looked at starting in real estate a number of years before, and I got talked out of it because I listened to a realtor that was a super negative Nancy and said it's going to
Mm.
cost you so much money, it's going to take you so much time. And it did take a lot of time. I started it with $0 budget. We were broke as a joke. We couldn't barely pay our next month's mortgage. It can be done. But you have to be able to copy the right cat. You've got to be able to align yourself with somebody that believes just as much as you believe, right? So just don't let anybody talk you out of it. This is honestly, I just wish I would have done this earlier. This is the greatest career
Yep.
opportunity I've ever had. And I hate to see anybody not move forward with it because somebody tells them that it's not a good idea for them.
There it is. Well said. Well, thank you again, Coti, for being here with us on the closing table. We appreciate you. For our YouTube audience watching right now, do us both a favor. If you got this far in the video, hit that like button for us, baby. We appreciate that. Also, make sure you hit the share button and subscribe to our channel. And if you are listening on Apple, Spotify, any other podcast platforms, please do the same. Give us a like, 5-star rating, and subscribe for our latest content. Hey, Coti, I got a question I like to leave our audience with before we get out of here. Hey, audience, when you're looking for a real estate agent to work with, do you prefer for them to be working with a name brand agency or brokerage, or does that not matter at all? Leave your comments below. Besides that, we'll see you next time.